So yeah, Falcon Pi Player that everyone's been talking about. It is a dedicated show player / computer. I'd say it's got amazing performance and it's reliable compared to trying to use a scheduler on PC, whether it's Vixen or LSP or your own software in previous years. Channel support, 100,000 plus DMX channels, if not more. I don't know what they're up to now. Well, there you go, 250,000 channels. So, and then if you want more, you just multi-sync them. So that's unlimited. And yeah, it's free software too, so super expensive. So yeah, what is it? It uses the Raspberry Pi single board computer, which comes in various versions. So A is the cheaper, low performance one, which I don't even think they make anymore.
Doesn't have a network. That's why it's cheaper.
Yeah, it does, the old one. I'm thinking about the... Oh, have they changed it? I got A's at work, but they're fairly old. Maybe they've redefined it. But yeah, the ones you'd be looking at now would be the B or the B+. So yeah, I think they're about $39 or thereabouts. Then you'll need like a USB power adapter and a case, the SD card for the operating system and a USB memory stick, which you use to save your sequences and your MP3 files on. And of course then it's the Falcon Pi Player itself, which is a Linux-based operating system. It's all self-contained, it's got its own web server to do the configuration and whatnot. And if you have problems with SD cards or USBs with performance or stuttering, I found changing the card helps. Because if you've got a...
Jerry reckon 8 gig for USB card.
Yeah.
Don't go bigger.
Okay.
That causes problems.
Right, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
I've had problems and I've got some things in there, so.
Yeah, so if you find it's doing weird stuff, and yeah, change cards. Because I had it the first year, it was stuttering on the music. Only when you first started to play the song, changed the USB, and didn't have that problem. So. Yeah, and there's been plenty of times in IT they say stuff is a standard, but yeah, they just don't want to work. And sometimes it's easier to just throw it out and buy another one or a different brand. So to set it up, we won't go into details. You basically download an SD card image off the Falcon Christmas site, use a program called Win32 Disk Imager, which then takes that image file and then dumps it onto your SD card. So it's like a pre-packaged system. So you don't have to sit around installing the Linux OS and then installing drivers and the actual Falcon Pi Player software. It's all ready to go once you extract that image. Then the actual configuration of your lights, that's all done via a web interface. So when you first plug it in and power it up, if you connect your speakers, it'll do text-to-speech and read out the IP address of what it's picked up on your network. So then when you punch that IP address into your web browser, you should be able to connect to it and do its thing. It still works like that, doesn't it?
Plugging it into a screen because it takes forever that first blue block goes
Yeah.
the image and everything else.
To be honest, I didn't do it that way. I just looked at my router and it said, oh yeah, that's what DHCP gave it.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know until I went to another meeting and they said it reads out the IP address. I was like, oh, there you go. So yeah. Sorry?
Those speakers I brought along, that's what they're for.
Well, the only problem is my Falcon Pi Player is in Brisbane.
Have you got a long cable?
I can actually get to it. I am VPN to my home computer, so yeah, that's it there. No, you're looking at, I'm dual screen, aren't I? You're not seeing that. That's the screen capture I took. Yeah, no, I just alt-tabbed and it came up on my laptop screen. So yeah, when you go into it, that's your basic screen. So there's like a volume control and a playlist, a play button. Very important is to make sure that the Falcon Pi Player service is running, because if it's not running, it's not going to work. So sometimes when you make changes to it, it decides to stop working until you hit the start button again. You'd be surprised how that can outsmart you at 2 o'clock in the morning when making changes. So what do we got? What else? Yeah, we got the PyPlay mode. Like I said before, you can run it as a bridge. So if you're sending packets directly to it, it'll just relay it. Or it can be a master to run your normal show, or a slave if it's running your panels or your neighbour's house down the road. So then you've got different tabs. So you've got your audio, your file management. So you basically drag and drop your MP3 files and your FSQ sequences, your videos. That's something I haven't talked about. You can actually connect a projector or a monitor to it and have it play a video synchronised in with your display. So if you've got monitors or TVs or other screens set up, that can do media play out that way. So then, yeah, once you get your files uploaded, you can create a playlist, which would be generally your show. And then you can schedule your playlist to run between certain times. So I have mine start at 5 o'clock and finish at late each night, or 10 o'clock when I want people to disappear. And then, yeah, it just runs every day because I'm still turning on the power supplies for the lights separately. So it doesn't matter if it's pumping out packets in the background. Then to do the channel setup, basically, it doesn't matter what sequencer you use, you need to get all your channels are going to appear as a flat list. So yeah, you're defining your channel numbers or your universe count, and then you're saying which controllers they're going to unicast or multicast to. So there's quite a bit to get that initially set up if you've got more than a handful of universes, I guess. So then once you've got that, there's a test mode function in there built into it. Helps to make sure that you've got stuff pointing in the right direction. Again, once I've got that working, I then use David's E131 utility to send test patterns to it to make sure it is configured correctly. There's also pixel overlays, so you can actually do some dynamic matrix or changing pixels on the fly. I haven't really played with that, but functionality's there, I guess. So anyone using Vixen in the room? There's, yeah, I think we're a dying breed. I'm using Vixen too. Whatever you do in Vixen, and I think X-Lights to some extent, that controller setup all becomes irrelevant. It's just the channel number.
X-Lights will actually export the universe's file, which you can upload.
Damn, I chose the wrong sequencer. Yeah. Well, in Vixen, yeah, all that channel mapping you do becomes irrelevant. You just need to get your channels and your controllers in order. So, yeah, if we go to the next slide. So, yeah, I number my controllers in Vixen, so when I export them, I get them in the right order. So then it's basically like gutter is channel 1 to 512, and the next controller, and so forth. So they're in the correct order when they export to the FSQ file, which can then be uploaded, which then becomes important to use a spreadsheet to track where your channels are going, no matter how trivial it is, because you'll remember it until about the 26th of December, and then you'll forget everything until next November when you go to plug it back in. So having that all documented is worth the hassle and the extra delays of pulling hair out at 2 o'clock in the morning when it doesn't work. I do it at work. Maybe for some.
I can't see this at work, but I'm not the only one that does it.
I tried remote desktoping home, but it was just too slow to run the sequencer.
Why don't you just copy your files from the Vixen to your laptop and do it at work and copy it back when you get home?
Oh, that's too much effort. So, yeah, any questions? That's as far as I got. I boarded the plane at this stage. So, yeah, I can log into mine, and if anyone wants to have a look at it, we can run through it. So I can actually control it.
Your PyPlayer remote from your house network?
Yep.
Do you Wi-Fi into your PyPlayer?
I have a more advanced network set up at home.
I have a question.
So yeah, I do a VPN network connection. So when my laptop dials in, it looks like it's on my internal home network. So then I can access it. To do it normally, if you port forward the port 80 to your router, or from your router to the pipe layer, you can then access it remotely. I just wouldn't put it on port 80 out to the internet in case someone scans you. But if you run on like 10,080 or something like that, when you hit your public IP, you can then come back in and control it. So you can be standing down the road and change the volume of your show. Yeah, I found that real good. So if people disappear, I turn the volume down. If people rock up and it gets busy, I turn the volume back up again. If I want them to disappear, I slowly turn it down.
Another good one is from the builders next door, networking next to you where their radio's nice and loud, you turn your FM transmitter on.
Yep,
Tell my wife that.
with the Frozen soundtrack.
Every time they do it, she gets in there and changes the frequency. They don't, she tried to talk to them, but they don't listen to them. So they just turn up with war sides and go for it. And they haven't put it onto anything. I just feel sorry for everyone else in the neighbourhood.
That's not such a bad idea, actually.
It's a good idea, yeah.
Because if it's a
Probably
mainstream,
illegal.
no, it's not legal.
It's not
Fully,
legal.
fully illegal. You hack the radio and you
Yeah, but
probably
who's
take
gonna
it
prove
everyone
it?
in the bloody neighbourhood. But who's gonna think about
But
it?
then again, who's got what is it, 10 microwatt that we're allowed to actually transmit at? Yeah. Yeah.
I do, it's just times that by a lot more.
A lot more than that.
I actually found out that I have Broadcast Australia's Queensland headquarters about 1 kilometre from my house. I haven't had the Men in Black around yet, so I turned my transmitter off at the end of the night.
Yeah.
So they come out the next day and they said, we can't find anything on our spectrum analyzer.